Hello. Hello.
Hi, Bill.
Ooh. Hey, what's new?
How are you doing?
Good.
I've been sitting here since like 8:30 this morning watching either your call or I did two FMLS. I did one webinar and I did one for CEU hours.
Nice.
So,
You probably know FMLS 100 times better than me by now.
yeah, the first one was cool. It was all on Realist, which was all the public documents.
Yeah.
Public records. So it was neat to be able to pull all of those records and see CMAs and stuff from there. Hello.
You got to do with your mouth closed.
Oh, it's fine.
Right.
So,
Hey, have a great day.
Mommy, I'm Daddy.
Yeah.
You know what else? I on TV. I like one.
What? That's very nice. I'm going to be on the call now, okay?
They give me $10,000 for dinner. Okay.
Go sell a house and you can have $10,000.
Okay. Only if I cook dinner will I get another $100,000.
Yep.
Please.
How about if you cook dinner with food that I bought, you can eat it for free?
No, because you're my father.
Yeah.
I got one more word to say.
Okay.
Miriam. She's not birthed into the Zoom call.
She reminds me of my youngest daughter. She's like that.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I think someone else is on the call
Hi,
too.
Sue Joy. What's up?
I'm good.
I don't know if I got my things crossed or not, but I didn't have you on the calendar for today, but I sent you a message with a time for Friday that maybe we could do.
Okay, but what was that email you sent out yesterday? Something about 1:30.
Oh, yesterday I had to move. Was that yesterday? Yeah,
Yeah.
yesterday I moved the coffee with Bill from 3 to 1:30.
Oh, was that? Okay. So did we meet at 8:30 today?
Yes.
8:30 every day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So on Sunday I've been in that. This is like I think third week maybe. That I sent out kind of a weekly review, and it has just links to the resources and kind of a review of some of the concepts that we talked about that week. And it also reminds you about some of the kind of homework and commitments that we've made and gives you the schedule for the upcoming week. I've also shared the PC Coach calendar. It's a Google Calendar of mine. And this upcoming week is kind of the first week that we start to see some, what's the word I'm looking for? Some normalcy, if you will, to it, where it's going to be a little bit more predictive. Interestingly enough, though, it's going to be that way for about 2 weeks. And then May is the month that we're going to be doing Bold Pivot. And I'm going to be doing Bold, and I suspect that a large percentage of our group is going to be doing Bold. And so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from 2 to 4 every day is going to be Bold. So I'm leaving the PC calendar open during those times because the expectation is you'll be participating in Bold. But there'll still be all the sessions, and some of the sessions will be during lunch and these kind of things. But we're gonna make sure it's all done. We are all being tasked with really focusing on kind of doubling or tripling the our focus and our efforts, because as we know, this is more than likely the beginning of a shift, and we are going to have to sharpen our, as they say, sharpen our saw, right? We're going to have to get real good at what we say and how we say it. We're going to get real good at how we present. We're going to get really good at how we deliver value, and the agents that um, take this time and take this opportunity to develop their skills and to become more and more of a professional, and don't sit down and think of it as a vacation, and instead take this as an opportunity to build their business and pour into their people and show that they care. These are people that will come out of this hiccup with very impressive businesses. And I don't suspect this will happen with either one of you, but there will be people that leave the business because of this. Leave the business because they aren't willing to put out that effort, or they aren't willing to commit to the activities that are required to do to achieve the things they want to achieve, or that they perhaps weren't prepared financially for hiccups like this. And all of those, there's no judgment. It just is what it is. And so the best way to defend against these kind of things is to go get yourself a bunch of clients, right? And go have a lot of conversations with people who need to have a real estate agent on their team to provide value and answer questions and to guide you through the purchasing process and the selling process. And the more people that rely on you for that type of role, then the more opportunities you'll have, and the more money you'll make, and the more impact you'll have. Make sense?
Yep.
You know, if you read, I forget what tactic it was in the Shift book, but they talk about this idea that if you have a certain amount of market share at the beginning of in a market, let's say you have nobody has 20% market share, but let's just say you had 20% market share just to keep the math simple, and there's, let's say, 1,000 transactions in the market. If all of a sudden now there's 600 transactions in the market, if you're going to keep your 20% market share, you're going to have to nearly double your production, right? So unless you want to lose market share, which most of us I would say don't want to, right? Unless you want to have lower results, then you're going to have to increase your efforts, right? And most of us set goals. We don't set goals by saying, okay, well, I made $60,000 this year. Next year, I want to make 60, right? Most people would say, let's see if I can make 70, or let's see if I can make 65, or let's see if I can make 80, right? More than likely, we all, even if money is not particularly the reason why we do this, it oftentimes is a measure of you know, is this working? Are we doing it? You know, are we helping a lot of families? And most of us don't stagnate on our goals. We always want to push it a little bit, right? So if you want to grow and the market's shifting down, doubling your efforts isn't even going to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to do it more. And so we're hearing all kinds of stuff from KWRI, just basically saying, you know, it wouldn't be unheard of to see 50% reduction in sales. So if you desire not to have a 50% reduction in income, you're going to have to either become more efficient or help more families. And that's going to happen is if you dedicate time to becoming more efficient, right? Practicing your scripts, getting more, you know, more sophisticated on technology, these kind of things, or dedicating the appropriate amount of time to go have more conversations, right? And one thing I find myself saying a lot of times, but I want to make sure that when given the audience, I want to make sure you hear this, is there's no judgment here. Like, there may, you know, I've had conversations with agents in the past that basically tried it, and they tried it really hard, and they couldn't find any joy in it. right? It just didn't, like, they weren't, it just wasn't a match. And that's okay. But you got to understand, you're going to have to make money some other way. Right? Like, right now, you've chosen real estate. So let's make the most of it.
Mhm.
Right.
Bill, I have a question.
Yeah.
So my neighborhood is a lot of rentals, and there's been 4 people on my street, like that live real close to me, that have moved out. And
Yeah.
so they're not selling them. I don't know a whole lot about, like, should I approach the owners of these companies and try to, like, what is the cost? Like what would they get for, I'm just kind of confused about, like, the
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
process of what would I do? But I'm watching these people's homes, like the one across the street and the one next door, and there's people fixing them up, and they're
Yeah.
about to put them back on the market.
So here's who I think that you should approach for business.
Okay.
Every person with a heartbeat that is not a bigot or an asshole.
So what is like the going, like,
I'll get to the rental thing in a second.
oh,
but
gotcha. Okay.
my point is that everyone is a prospect.
Uh-huh.
Okay, the only reason somebody should not be a prospect is if they don't treat you with respect,
Uh-huh.
or they don't treat others with respect.
Okay.
Cool?
Mm-hmm.
Then you cut them off because you ain't got time for that, and it messes with your head.
Yes. I've
Okay,
been there.
so the people that are moving out of those locations should be in your database. The
They've already
people that are
moved out. I
getting-
didn't even know. Like, they're gone. So
That's okay. I'm just kind of from a
Uh-huh.
10,000 foot view. Every time you get an opportunity to get into a relationship with somebody, do it.
okay.
Okay. Okay. Let's talk about the rentals for a second. And does that make sense about the
Oh,
bigot
I
and the jerk and all
Yes,
that?
I've been there, done that. I've already fired clients in the past for
Good.
treating me bad.
Got to tell you, it feels so good.
Yeah.
It feels so good.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Here's the deal with rentals. Okay, you can market a rental property or a property that would be available for rent, just like you would market a property for sale. Okay,
Okay.
and you can also help a renter get matched up with a property. It would be a privately owned property, right? A single family house or a condo or a townhome,
Mhm.
and you would be paid for both of those. So your license allows you to do that.
Okay.
First point. Okay, let's start with the landlord. You can get into a relationship with the owner, and you know obviously you're going to ask the questions, right? Talk to me a little bit about what are your goals with the property. You want to understand where do they live, right? Do they have other rentals? You just want to get, obviously you want to understand their situation, right? How does this one property fit into their financial world? And,
Okay.
and perhaps is there any other opportunity that you might be able to help them with as well? Okay. So you would list the home. There's a document called the exclusive leasing listing agreement. I think Sue Joy, we've gone through one of these together, haven't we?
No.
Okay, maybe I got that confused. So there's a document called the exclusive leasing listing agreement. So the seller is, or the owner has committed to working with you exclusively to help them market their property for lease.
Okay.
Generally speaking, and we don't have quite enough time to go into 100% of the details, but generally speaking, the fee for that is the first month's rent. So
Okay.
let's say the place is
It's
$1,500.
yeah, they're about $1,750.
So let's say it's $1,750. When the first month's rent was collected, that would go to you.
Okay.
Or technically that would go to Keller Williams, and then it would be split like a normal commission would.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, if there is a agent that works with the tenant, right? So an agent, because it's going to go on the MLS and it's going to go on Zillow and Redfin and all the sites, right? And agents that happen to be working with tenants may bring their tenants to it, right? If they're the ones that bring the tenant, then you would pay the tenant's agent out of that first month's rent.
Okay. How much do they usually get?
They would generally make somewhere between 25 and 35%. More often than not, it's around 25%. If it's a low number, like if it's like, let's say $1,000 a month, then I'd probably pay them like, $300, like a little bit more than a quarter.
And they would have a lockbox.
Yeah,
And
oh,
all
yeah,
that.
we'll get to that.
Oh,
So
okay.
you market the plate, you put it in that you take pictures, you know, you get professional pictures taken. You can get professional pictures taken now for $150, right? And ideally you would use those, and, you know, you don't have to, ideally it would be a long-term relationship. So the next year when the guy moves out, you use the same pictures, right?
Okay.
Unless they've spent, you know, significant money upgrading the place and you need to redo the kitchen or something, right?
Okay.
So you always keep files of your of the pictures and of the marketing that you've paid for, right?
Mhm.
So you put it online. There's a rental section, right? If there's a tenant's agent, then they'll generally receive, let's say 25% of the first month's rent, and I would say a minimum of about $300. Okay. Now, when they and conversely, if you happen to be working with a tenant, then you're going in and they say, okay, well, I've got a budget of $1,800 and it needs to be a 3-bedroom home and I need to be in this high school district, and you search for it just like you would search for a regular single family property for sale. Okay.
Okay.
So let's say there's 6 matches. You say, hey, here are the 6 homes on the market. Which one do you want to see? Right. So now tenant says, I'm interested. Okay. There's generally 2, well, actually, I skipped one thing. So the big decision with respect to renting is who is going to manage the property. Okay. So generally speaking, if the owner is going to manage the property, they're going to expect you to help with the screening of the candidate. Okay. And when the owner wants to manage the property, I always send them to a website called mysmartmove.com. Okay. mysmartmove.com. You can use any system you want for screening. I've just found that one to be really good. Okay. It's free. It's a free service. There is a fee for each screen, each, you know, credit pull or whatever. I think it's around $40 or $45. And I usually just pass that along to the tenant. So I say, hey, you want to apply? It's $45, and you pay for it online. So the owner isn't charged for it, and you don't have to pay anything for it. Okay. Anyone that's over the age of 18 needs to get screened. I don't care if you have a job or not. I don't care if you your credit sucks. If you're over 18, your file's getting pulled. Okay. Now online, and this is just the way I did it. Okay. Online, it is a sex registry check, a criminal check, and a credit pull. So,
I've done that before. I had a rental. My house was a rental, and I was the one in charge of it. So I did that, but I was just the owner.
That's fine. It's virtually, it's doing the same thing. You're basically just figuring out who is this person that wants to move into my home. Okay. So it is a credit check, criminal check, sex registry check.
Okay.
Okay. And then it also has a recommendation based on how they set up their preferences. Like if they want to be risky, if you will, or tolerant of certain things, right? Then it'll make a recommendation on reject this application or accept it.
Okay.
You don't have to follow the recommendation if you don't want to. What it doesn't do is it doesn't pull any type of income verification. It doesn't pull any type of landlord recommendations or lack of recommendations. And it doesn't have any type of proof of income. So there's also a GAR form that is called rental application. And it asks those questions on there. So it'll ask for the landlord history, recommendations. It'll ask for where you work and what your social security number is and all that kind of stuff. It'll also ask for your email address. So when somebody says, I want to apply, I send them the rental application. They send me it back, and then I use that to put their email and name into the online system.
Okay.
And then they pay for it. Okay. And you can watch some tutorials on the website, by the way. Basically what I want to do as a landlord agent is to make the package as simple as possible for my landlord to say yes or no without doing a whole lot of work, because quite frankly, we don't get paid that much.
Okay.
So I would say, all right, give me your most recent 2 pay stubs, proof of income. So if you're an independent contractor or you're a business owner or something like that, show me that you make money, whether it's taxes, direct deposits or something. Just show me the type of money you make. Okay. I also want to see copy of your driver's license and the completed rental application. And then I'm going to use that information, all of that information, combined with what I see from online, combined with all of that reporting from any other adults that might want to live there. And that's what I'm going to pass that all along to the owner, and they're going to make their decision.
Okay.
If they say yes, then I'm going to write up the lease for them, and I'm going to facilitate it being signed back and forth. If they say no, I'm going to write them a denial letter. Okay.
Okay.
Before we go, just out of respect, basically, I don't know if I ever should have done this or not, but I did it 100 times probably, and no one ever fought me on it. Was I'd basically say to the tenant, okay, tell me what you want. Like, what's your ideal situation? Okay, well, I want to pay $1,700. I want to start on May 1st, and I want a dog. So let me check that with the owner, pending an acceptable application before you spend the money on an application. So for example, if you want to start on July 1st, then I'm not going to commit to you right now and then let my place sit empty at the cost of $4,000. And then finally in July, you're going to start paying me. No. And I'm not going to even bother to take your $40 either. Like, we're not a match. So we have to figure out if we're a match first, then we'll run the credit. Make sense?
Okay. Yes. And do any of these landlords want you just to advertise your house on FMLS, but not actually do all the other stuff? Like, because they've had these for years.
Like, I used to work with a bunch of owners that basically would have a management company involved. So that was the coolest part, because then I'd just get an inquiry and I'd send the inquiry to the management company because they wanted to be involved in the screening.
Okay.
Then the management company would organize all that stuff, and they would write the lease, and then I would just make sure it gets signed. So the first question is are you planning to manage this home yourself or not? Okay. 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 So that's essentially how it works. If you're on the tenant side, you would say to the landlord's agent, hey, I've got a customer there, hey, I've got a client that wants to spend $1,700, move into your place on May 1st. He's got a 25-pound dog. Should we move forward? Yes. Okay, great. What's the application process? And every owner is going to have a little bit different system. What I described to you is just my system.
Okay.
Okay. And then it's a match, and you show up on day one, you do a move-in report, so the tenant goes in and says, okay, well, this doorknob doesn't close really right, and this window is kind of jerky, and there's a little stain on the carpet. I don't want you to charge me for that next year. You take pictures of everything, you send it to everyone involved. The way that I used to handle the deposits are generally 1 month's rent deposit, assuming the credit is acceptable. If the credit sucks, then I would either turn them down or ask for additional deposit.
Okay.
Additional deposit would probably be 1 more month's rent. Okay. And then if they had a pet, we'd charge a pet fee. Pet fee is anywhere from about $250 non-refundable to about $350 non-refundable, depending on the pet. And we'd have some restrictions that were basically mirrored the insurance company restrictions. Like, I'm not letting pit bull in the place, and I'm not letting, we used to have an agent, this freaking dog was like 200 pounds. Like, it was like a horse. Like, that thing ain't living in my home. I don't care how much money you want to pay me. That thing ain't living here. Right. So, the owner, one of the questions you want to ask right after you ask if they're going to manage it themselves is, what's your policy on pets?
Okay.
Right. So with that said, when the lease is signed, I usually take the first month's rent. On the day of move-in, I usually take the security deposit. And then once we're in receipt of that payment, the lease might say, first month's rent, or it kind of spells out what payment is due when. The lease basically has a phrase in there that says the tenant's not responsible for paying the security deposit until they do a move-in report. So we'd always call the first payment to be a reservation fee, which would then convert to the security deposit. And then when they brought the first month's rent, that would be made out to Keller Williams. And then the lease would say all parties agree that first month's rent due on move-in day will be made out to Keller Williams Realty Consultants and serve as first month's rent payment covering May of 2020, something like that.
Okay.
Then I would take that check, and that's the commission basically. And then we'll take that back to the office, and the office would split it accordingly. So
Okay.
if there was another agent involved, then that agent would be paid. A lot of times there wasn't another agent involved, and the tenant basically was unrepresented because they called on a a website or whatever.
Hmm.
And I was the one that took the call. I was the one that showed them the place. And so they didn't have representation. And I just walked everyone through the process, and I got to keep the entire amount.
Okay.
Okay. Now the cool part is you're going to get clobbered with rental leads, which is just a bunch of people that will now be in your database.
Hmm.
Who you know live locally and presumably do not have a relationship with a real estate agent.
Hmm.
And by the way, if you can afford a $1,800 a month place, at some point you probably should be buying a $350,000 home.
Hmm.
So my job is to deliver whatever value you want or need between now and the time that I get to sit at the closing table with you and get the real big check.
Hmm. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you for all this info.
Okay. I hope that was helpful, Sujoy. Was that helpful?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that. Wait, no.
Okay.
I'm gonna go upstairs. So sorry.
So that is that's kind of the rental process. Now, there are a lot of agents that just flat out aren't willing to work rentals, and I'll be honest, it's very challenging to make a living working rentals. And believe me, I tried.
Mhm.
Okay, I remember one year, I think it was 2010, maybe. I think I represented like 18 or 19 landlords, another 30 or so tenants, and then helped a bunch of people, buy and sell. Like I was working my ass off. Like there was no extra time. However, what ended up happening is I grew my database like crazy.
Mhm.
And I'll be the first to tell you, I've told all the important people this, and they still let me talk to you guys. Like I didn't really follow the model. Okay. The reason why they talk about hiring an administrative person first, generally, is because the first pain point in a growing real estate agent's business is I need listing help, right? Because we teach you to go be listing focused,
Mhm.
right? Because you have more leverage on listings. Listings create buyers. They give you bait for marketing and advertising, right? So I'd much rather have 5 listings than 5 buyers. Well, when I got into the business, and I'm not here to warn you, but we're probably entering a bit of a shift right now. I would sit down. This is when the foreclosure stuff was happening 12, 13 years ago. I didn't have any problem getting in front of sellers. Okay. I didn't have any problem with that. And I'd share the information with them and I'd say, okay, great. Well, all the data says your home should sell for $225. And they're like, would you like me to kick your ass out of this house? Because we ain't selling it for anywhere close to $225. We're thinking $300. And I'm like, unfortunately, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, there is not a piece of evidence in the entire universe that supports the fact that this home should sell for $300. Right? Well, I paid $325. Well, I understand that. But there's no one that's going to buy this home for $325 now, and there's no one that's going to buy this home for $300 either. And so how can I help you? Right? And it wasn't like I wasn't trying to be a jerk. But it's the place is worth what the market says it's worth, right? I bought GE stock at $40 when it was available at $6. Was there anyone in the world that was going to buy it for $40?
No.
Because the market said it's worth $6. Right?
Mhm.
Now, what if I took out a front page ad in the New York Times and had balloons hanging from every street corner, and I bought an ad in every real estate website and every real estate book and told the world that I would sell GE stock for $40. They'd be like, I don't care. It's worth $6. right? So you're only going to be able to sell the place for what the place is worth. So basically what ended up happening is I got into a relationship with a ton of people that weren't not interested in a foreclosure and were not interested in a short sale, yet they didn't want to live in that home anymore either. And the way that I was able to help them was to help them market their home for rent, right? And what ended up happening is I put their home on the market for rent, and then I got clobbered with rental leads.
Mhm.
And I'm not here to say what I did was the best or the worst, but I had a young marriage and a young child, and my biggest pain point was the showings. I didn't actually have that big of an administrative issue. I had a showing issue. Too many people wanted to see me and look at property, and I couldn't handle it all. Right? That was my pain point. So the leverage is supposed to eliminate pain points. That's the point, right? I hire somebody to cut my grass because I don't have the tools to do it, and I don't have the interest in doing it, and I don't get any fulfillment from doing it, right? And so I let somebody else do it because I don't want that job. I'm happy to share that opportunity with somebody different, right? I pay somebody to fold my clothes, same reason. I could fold clothes, I just don't really like doing it. And I'm not willing to do it, quite frankly, because I would rather sit there and watch them fold my clothes and talk to them than do it myself, right?
Mhm.
So my point is that then I got a ton of leads coming in,
Mhm.
and I was like slammed. And in order to protect the boundaries that I was trying to create around my business to have a family life, I basically had to call. I went into my team leader's office and I said, I need help. And she's like, who are you looking for? And the first thing I actually said was, y'all don't know Denise, so you wouldn't get this, but I said, honestly, I want Erin. At the time, Erin was agent services. She looked at me like, oh my God, she looked at me like I just killed somebody. She goes, don't you fucking touch her. So ultimately, Erin and I, got a chance to, work together, of course. And so then I walked into the Ignite room and I said, all right, Kathy. Kathy was the teacher at the time, different Kathy Woods. And I said, who's the smartest person in here? I need help. And she pointed to Pam.
Mhm.
And you guys have heard me say this before. I said, Pam, come with me. I said, this is what I need. This is what I'm willing to offer. Are you interested? And 8 years later, we're still working together, right? So I basically would forward all the leads to her. This is before we officially partnered up, but we were working together every day. And I would get the lead from Zillow and forward it to her. These people had no relationship with me at all. They didn't know who I was. So Pam would call the lead. Pam would show all the property. And I said, here's what I want to do. And this is leverage. This is my first shot at leverage. And I said, here's what I'd like to do. I'll give you 100% of all the money you make on the rentals. It's not a lot of money to split anyway. Okay. I'll teach you anything you want to know about real estate. So I basically, I don't want to say I taught her everything she knows, but I was definitely one of the big teachers at the beginning for her. Right. I poured into her like crazy because she was helping me protect my marriage and protect my family. Right. And I said, all I want is if any of these people buy, give me 25% on the first time. Forever and ever after that, they're all yours. Any referrals from all that, that's all yours. And when you get paid on the rental, that's all yours. If they buy, the first time they buy, 25% fee, which is normal. And I said, anytime I ask you, I want to see the spreadsheet. And what I meant was I want a list of names, emails, cell phone numbers, notes, date their lease expires, everything, so that we can be hunting these people down, right? Because if you're moving, I want to know about it. You're renting again, I want to help you. If you're buying again, I want to help you. You got a question, I want to help you, right? And that was our setup. And then when Pam got busy, I found somebody else. And I said, all right, same deal for you. When that person got busy, I said, cool, same deal for you. So then I was building all of these little sub databases that I had a financial interest in. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That's leverage. So I don't know how I got on that soapbox, but
Okay.
that I think I've said to you guys probably each individually, pretty much every issue that you could face in real estate could be overcome by having more leads, right? Because if you've got a man or a woman that just isn't listening or doesn't want to, look at the facts, or isn't nice, or doesn't respect you, he's a bigot, he's always late, he won't talk to the lender, whatever it is, and that's your only client, well, you're going to go out of your way to get paid. However, if you've got enough opportunities where you don't have to put up with that, then you get to fire them. You get to work with who you want when you want. Now, these people, I mean, literally, like I said, I probably got 600 or 700 people in my database, and I could probably trace easily 2/3, maybe more, of my database through 2 properties. 10520 Morton Chase Way and 3491 Brookview Way. Right? I know them by heart. I could tell you every little thing about those 2 properties. One's in Alpharetta, one's in Marietta, right? And I help those people rent their home like 5 times and then finally sell it. The other one, I helped them rent it twice and then they lost it to foreclosure without telling me, but I met a ton of people from it, right? And most of those people have rented and bought and sold and bought again and coupled up and bought again and sold again. And it took me from a $750 little rental dump in Sandy Springs a month to like a $600,000 purchase and about 200 transactions in between. So all those neighbors, put them in your database and love on them and treat them right.
Okay.
And if they're broke, treat them right.
Sure.
And if they're rich, treat them right.
Okay.
Right? Just treat people right. And these people will run through walls to support you when you run through walls to support them.
Okay. Well, thank you for all the tips. And then do you just get for lease signs instead of for sale signs? Is there a separate sign?
Or you could get like a little,
The little, I forget what they're called, but.
like a little, it's not called a rider, but it's like, it's almost like, it's kind of looks like this, if you will. And then it kind of sits on top of the for sale part and it says for rent or for lease,
Okay.
That way you just pull it off and now you got your for sale sign,
Uh-huh.
that kind of thing.
Okay.
The sign companies can kind of point you in the right direction on that.
Okay, good.
Joycelyn, do you have any thoughts on what I was saying? Am I talking crazy? You're on mute.
I sure am. Yes, I fully agree with that because the last time the market crashed, that's how we survived in the shift.
Yeah.
And a lot of the clients that we've had over the years have also been former rental clients or properties that we've sold and leased and sold, just over. I have a listing right now, which is a client. Yeah. It was a rental for the past 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And she had, so we're putting it on the market to sell now.
Yeah, Pam just had a closing into last week, and I helped the wife. I think 2 or 3 different occasions, to be perfectly honest with you, 2 or 3 different occasions. I showed her rental property, and she ended up renting something without me. Then I finally helped her find a rental. Then I helped her find another rental. Then I helped her and her now husband find a rental. Then I helped her and her now husband purchase.
Right.
They purchased about a $360,000 home, and 2 years later we sold it for almost $400,000.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I actually had one of my rental clients call me, email me a week ago, asking, she's out of state now, but wants to purchase a property here, and she's still employed. So, yeah, but she was a rental client for the past 6 years. Yeah,
it's funny. And like every year we'd have that conversation. Hey, I know you want to sell it for $300. It's probably worth about $235 this year. All right, let's rent it. Next year. Right. All right, what's it worth? It's probably worth about $250 if we're lucky. Let's rent it. All right.
Right.
Next year, what's it worth? It might be worth about $260 now. Let's rent it.
Right.
It's finally worth 300. Let's sell it 7 years later.
Right. Exactly.
You know, it's a long game, y'all. Keep adding people to your database and keep treating them right, you know?
Yeah.
All right. Don't forget, I am away tomorrow and the next day. Pam is available if you need anything. Kathy Ray is available if you need anything. And Susan Corley is available if you need anything. If you have any Harry broker issues, you can call Nova, of course. And feel free to use our WhatsApp chats for assistance. And today there was an invitation sent out to everyone to join a Slack channel. We're going to be putting everyone into small groups through that system. Okay.
Okay, well, thank you. I joined the group and I also
Saw that.
signed up. So,
Cool.
okay, you have a good time off, and we'll see you
All
on
right.
All right.
All right.
Bill, I have a
Friday.
question.
So you can hang on and we'll chat.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye. What's up?
Bye-bye.
What's up?
Oh, how does co-listing work?
So Cole is basically an online website that,
No. Co-listing. Like I want to, if I want to list a property with another agent.
oh, co-listing. I'm sorry. The agent does have to be at our office.
Okay, same office.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beyond that, you would basically just put something in writing between the two of you saying, you know, what how the expenses would be handled, right? And how the kind of a essentially how obviously how the commission would be paid, right? Split presumably, and also kind of a discussion on kind of who does what, right? What part of the which of the tasks that are needed to happen do you do, and which do the other agent do? And then the paperwork is basically signed by both of you. Simple. Who are you thinking about co-listing something with?
You know, I've been putting off listing my own home,
Okay.
but I don't have the confidence to do it myself
Why?
because I really don't know. It's one of those expensive homes,
Okay.
and I want to do it. I want to list it and I want to sell it. If I list it, I want to sell it. So I don't want to put, it happened once. I listed it, and once I listed it, after 3 months, once I listed it, it expired, and the second time I withdrew.
So what are you most concerned about? Figuring out the price, dealing with the marketing, handling all the negotiations, doing the contract? What are you most concerned about?
Good question. Probably marketing.
Okay. Personally, I don't know that you would need to give away, you know, I mean, how expensive were you talking? Like 800,000-900,000?
Pretty close. More than 8, less than 9. I mean, I would ideally.
We're talking about $14,000 of half of a commission that you would have to pay that you otherwise wouldn't pay.
I agree with you. Who can help me with the marketing otherwise?
I mean, you could call any type of marketing company. You could call Robin T. You could call any type of marketing company and say, hey, I'm going to be listing this property. Can you, help me with flyer design or a Facebook campaign or any of that kind of stuff? It would cost nothing compared to $14,000.
I know. You see, I've never done sales myself. So, and especially when it comes to your own home, maybe I can talk much about somebody else's home. But when it's your own, I think I really need help.
Well, I'm just here to share your options. So your options are you do it all yourself, or you take it on by yourself and farm out the parts of the process that you're not comfortable with for a flat fee, or you partner with somebody that is familiar with that area or familiar with, that is works in the luxury market, right? Like a couple of examples of those people might be Robin Consor, Robin Lemon, Roxy Hernandez, Peggy Connors, certainly. Some of these ladies might, I would suspect, be more than happy to help you, and can kind of give you some guidance on how to approach it. Or you might ultimately decide to partner with them and just co-list it together. I personally think that, I mean, I just sold my own home, and I was, it's under contract. It hasn't closed yet, but
So where are you moving to?
we bought a house over near Emory. We bought a house back in July.
Okay.
No, we're here. We also have a townhome in Sandy Springs we're closing on in like 2 weeks, or selling. And honestly, I was, it wasn't in the, like perfect shape, and like, I don't know. I ended up losing, I didn't lose money, but I didn't sell it fast at all. It took me a long time to sell. And I didn't take my own advice, and I didn't take other agents' advice, to be perfectly honest with you. So sometimes it's helpful to get secondary advice, but secondary advice is like taking somebody out for dinner and saying, hey, can you stop by for 20 minutes and give me your thoughts on the house, not 15 grand.
I missed something. There was a, can you say that last sentence again?
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to share a commission 50-50 with somebody to give you advice on the marketing of a property or co-listing it.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to put you in a situation you're uncomfortable, but understand that your uncomfort in order.
Your voice is breaking up, Bill. Bill, your voice is breaking up.
Oh, can you hear me now? Hang on, let me turn this thing on. Hang on. I'm gonna need to go in just a second, but hang on 1 second. All right, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Most of the last 2-3 sentences, it was breaking up.
Okay, so I don't want to put you in a situation that you're uncomfortable in, but understand that you're essentially paying for not being comfortable, right? So if you don't have the tools or the confidence to market it or to price it, I mean, you could price it by, getting a couple of appraisals or one appraisal just to confirm the price, right? Say, okay, well, it's probably more than 8, but it's less than 9. All right, great, let's go get an appraisal. Appraisal comes in at 875, probably that's your target, right? Or maybe a hair less than that. So you can get other people to help you for far less than half a commission in terms of pricing, or in terms of marketing, or in terms of running a Facebook ad campaign or something like that. But I will tell you, if you put on the Facebook page, hey, looking for an agent to co-list with, it's a $900,000 house, and it's in Alpharetta, right?
Roswell, downtown.
Right. You're probably going to get clobbered, meaning there's going to be like 1,000 agents that want to help you. So you would be creating a pretty appealing opportunity, just so you know.
Okay.
But I think I made the remark that, like, I mean, you can call up Peggy Connors and say, hey, I've got this opportunity. I'd love for you, can I take you to lunch and, have you swing by for, 10 minutes and walk around and give me your thoughts? She'd probably do that.
Okay.
Right. And if she might explain what co-listing might look like for her, and you might decide that it's something you would entertain. Right. Or you might say, I'm super grateful for your guidance, and I'm going to do this one on my own. And as long as you're fair, and as long as everyone kind of has understanding, there's no misunderstandings along the way, then you should be okay.
Do you know Peggy personally?
Yeah.
Is she a friendly person?
Oh yeah. Yeah. She's very fair. She lives in Country Club of the South. She does a lot of work in there.
Actually, let me tell you, I'm interested in seeing a property property that she has listed.
Okay.
About 2-3 weeks ago, when our office was open, I even asked Melody. I said, Melody, is Peggy somewhere in the office? I like to see her because I wanted to see if I could go look at her property and then if I could co-list with her my own house.
Mm.
She has listed one for $775.
Nearby?
No, in her country club of the South.
Okay, okay.
So I wanted to see that property, but I did not go because I wasn't sure if I can sell my own home first, because I need to pull cash out of here.
Yeah. Well, she definitely has her I think she's number one in Country Club of the South for sales. So, you know, she definitely knows what she's doing. She knows the luxury market. She's, you know, she has a lot of clients and friends in the neighborhood. So she might know of other opportunities that pop up. I think it's probably worthwhile that you reach out to her and introduce yourself.
Okay, so it's Peggy Connors at kw.com.
That I'm not 100% sure of.
Yeah, don't worry. I think that is what it should be.
Yeah, most likely. You can also look on, hang on one second. I'll just tell you. Or you can, you know, Google her and just call her Peggy.
Yeah, I have a number from her listing.
It's the email I have is PeggyConnors4, the number 4 at Gmail.
Oh, at Gmail, okay.
Yeah, but it's probably also on the MLS as well.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was going to use. My next question. Who
Yes.
is doing the most business in downtown Roswell area?
I don't know if I know the answer to that. Joanne Curtin's probably one that comes to mind. Joanne and Tom Curtin. That's probably my top guess.
Okay.
Yeah, but once it's listed, I mean, you can call those agents and be like, hey, you know, you could host like a luncheon or, you know, a virtual tour or whatever, and call them all personally and say, hey, I'm Sue from the office, and I know that you do a lot of work in this area, and I'd love just to tell you about it. Can I send you the video or something like that?
You know, at this time, I do have pictures. I do have 3D Matterport pictures. I'm not very happy with the still photography, but the 3D is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But there's 3 aspects to the 3D. There's the dollhouse view, there is level by level view, and then there's that walking tour. I don't want to include the walking tour because you can literally walk through every room, through my closet, see everything that's hanging there.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anybody in the office who can help me remove the walking tour from there so I feel safer?
Is that just like a like editing the particular file type?
That's, yeah, 3D pictures.
You'd have to ask. I'm sure there's somebody that could do it.
Who would be the person that I could ask?
I just put that on the Georgia Legacy group and say, hey, I have a video file in this particular format that needs editing. Who can do it for me?
Okay. Okay.
All right. Let me know how else I can help you. And I'm glad we got a chance to connect today.
Yeah, actually, so you do the 8:30 in the morning and the 3 o'clock?
Generally, yes. The schedule is starting to change a little bit. It's always going to be 8:30. On Sunday, I sent out an email that has a breakdown of the entire week's schedule. I'm out tomorrow and Thursday.
Okay.
And then the coffees, they weren't really highly attended, to be honest. So we're going to move to a slightly different format. But one thing that I was noticing is that a lot of people there's just so much content out there and so many Zooms and so many meetings and all this stuff. And what I was seeing is that people weren't making enough calls. They weren't doing enough work. And
And so I want to make sure that our people are focused on the right stuff, which is
Okay.
spending time learning the systems and getting out there and booking appointments. But by the way, I don't have your numbers for April 1st through April 8th. If you can go back to the email I sent on Sunday and or the PC group, I put a link in there for you to access the spreadsheet. Is that cool?
Okay. So
Wonderful.
enjoy your mini vacation. Stay
Thank
safe,
you.
and
Thank
we'll
you,
see
thank you.
you
We'll see you soon. Friday.
Friday. Okay.
All right.
Thanks,
Talk to you
Bill.
soon. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.